Page 146, Lunar Eclipse. On page 142, they're introducing you to the key of E minor. E minor has one sharp. It's the relative minor to G major. G major is one sharp. It's an F sharp. E minor, it's an F sharp. I mean, the first sharp in the key signature is an F sharp. Doesn't matter if it's major or minor or any of that. It's just an F sharp is the first one. So G major, if you go down 3 half steps, that gives you the relative minor. So there's 1, 2, 3. E minor is the relative minor to G major. That means it has the same key signature, one sharp. So I don't memorize all these key signatures for the minors. I don't memorize much of any of them. But I know them for the majors, mainly through the scales. And I can very quickly in my head calculate 3 half steps down to figure out what the relative minor is. Now, I do that a lot. It got me all through the music theory classes in college and so forth. It worked pretty well for me. Everybody has their own system. Well, let's talk about it. I would prefer that you use my scale video on E minor. I talk about the technique and the accents and playing it and so forth. I'll cover it briefly here since the book covers it. In E minor, we're using the harmonic minor. If I use the natural minor, that's natural minor. It's just all the notes in G major played to start with an E instead of a G. Well, we use the harmonic minor, and that means the 7th step we raise it a half step. The 7th step is 1 less than 8. 7 is 1 less than 8. So instead of it's a D, we simply take it up to a D sharp. So that's harmonic minor. It's what I cover in my scale videos because that's used the most in music, and it's a good one to know. Page 143 that give you the fingering and all that. I cover that in the scale video, and then at the bottom of the page they're having you play it 1 octave up and down. I cover that. That's what you need to do in the scale video, 1 octave up and down. Learn it every day. And I suggest you do the key signature. That means you're going to do the G major scale and the E minor scale. You do them both. That's like the first time you practice in a day. First thing you do is the scales. Just cover them. So whatever scale you're working on. So now, for this part, we're going to be doing the G major scale and the E minor scale. In the book, we're just going to be covering E minor. I'm sure the next few pieces are all going to be in E minor, so you get accustomed to playing in it. That means we need to know the primary chords. Well, the numbers are easy. They're the same. 1, 4, and 5, 7. So in E minor, let's go down here. 1 chord. Remember, you got to use the notes in the scale. So in E minor, it's here. The only black keys we're using are here and maybe the harmonic for here. But here, so 1 chord. Then the 4 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's an A minor chord. That would be that one. Although I'm here, so I'm just going to stay here and go up here. It's the 4 chord. Then the 5, 7 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here. And if I use the D sharp, it would be here. If you add a 7th on top of it, just 1 more note. You get a 5, 7 chord. We don't use all the notes necessarily. So I'm here. I'm simply going to go here. And those are the primary chords. 1, 4, 5, 7. In both hands, of course. Primary chords, you'll get them a lot and you'll see them a lot, and it's nice if you can recognize them because it will make reading music easier because you'll recognize these groups of notes rather than trying to read note, 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 note all the time. They'll come at you. It's like reading words rather than individual letters. You'll learn to recognize the words rather than trying to recognize each letter and then put it together. Similar thing in music. And then they cover at the closed position at the bottom of 140. Well, closed simply means you're not moving your hand around. That's what we've been doing. We're just staying right in here. That's closed. closed position. We're not going all over the place. Now let's talk lunar eclipse thing. At the top of the page, they give you a new symbol. You're going to love this one. A tenuto mark, and guess what? People don't agree on what it means. Isn't that lovely? This book says it's a stress mark. A lot of people did. Originally it was an accent. It was treated like an accent. But then it's kind of evolved into more, it's more of a linger on it. Hang on to it just a hair longer. Well, a lot of times when you do that, you can put a little more stress on it. It's not, I don't consider it an accent per se, but you might put a little more stress on it. I was never taught, I don't remember in all the teachers I've had throughout, anyone ever telling me it was a stress mark. Maybe they did and I forgot, I don't know. But I do remember they said, tenuto, you hang on to it. You linger on that note. And in this piece, we get it. You'll see at measure 4, there in the first line, the last measure of the first line, the high B up here, that has that little line above it. It's kind of hard to see. Just linger on that a little long. Don't cut it the least bit short. Hang on to it. Maybe you give it the 3/4 time, you give it the full 3 counts, and just a hair more. Don't mess up the rhythm, but you linger on that note as best you can. As far as the book goes, they want you to play it just a hair louder, just a little bit. It's not a full accent, just a little bit louder. Yeah. Anyway, lunar eclipse, 3/4 time. We're in the key of E minor. That's what we're studying. And we got notes going all over everywhere. It looks ugly? Well, let's break it down and see if we can make it a little less ugly. Gonna kind of take both hands together because that's sort of how it's working here on page 146. You just have it in the right hand. You have a 1 chord. That's all it is. It's a broken 1 chord. And in the left hand, you just got 1 note here. So it's here 1 and 2 and 3 and. Then you got to bring, while you're doing that, bring the left hand up. Get ready for the D sharp. But the right hand's just staying on this E chord. Then cross the left hand over. Don't care which finger you use. I use 3 because it's a longer finger and it's easier for me to reach it. As far as the tenuto lines, I'll talk about those in a minute. Just right now we're playing the notes. Second line is very similar. That's an A. And then the third line is, hopefully you get it, the idea. Now on measure 11 they got cross 1 under. What? Well, you're sort of in this position. For measure 9 you're here. Then you're up here. They want you to stay here, just cross your thumb under here, just thumb under to play the B. That way you're in position for the next line. That's all it is. My problem with that is these are 8th notes. I'm only going to hold it down for half a beat. And when I lift up, I can move down. I see no reason to cross under. So I leave that between you and your teacher. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just going to move down. So starting at measure 9. That's how I'm going to do it. And of course 13. And for that half note in the right hand, you can do 1/5 or 2/5. I tend to do 2/5 because I got big hands. I don't like being up in here if I don't have to. So I just reach down and do 2/5. If you have smaller hands, you pretty much need to do 1/5. It's a personal thing. And that's a half note. Hold it down as you play that, and then hold that down as you play the G. They overlap. And then 1 chord. This 2/1 broken chord is like an arpeggiated chord. It's an arpeggio. So forth. For page 147. Now here we got the chords. Right hand, that G is tied. You're going to hold it down for 2 measures. And while you do that, you do the E's. Here, because they are not tied. You play those. And on the left hand, you have a C sharp and a B. Well, isn't that wonderful? Even with big hands, that should be okay because I can still reach all of that and stay out here. I don't have to come in here and do that, just here. So it's here. Something about the eclipse here, I'm not sure what's going on, but that's what it says. I didn't write these notes. And then going on, the F sharp, that's tight. You're going to hang on to that as you do that. So, and then the left hand goes down here, went from here to here. That's a stretch if you do that. You almost have to do it with 5-1. And then measure 21 as eighth notes. 1 and 2. Now it's a D sharp. Hold the F sharp down. And a B and an A. Now hold that down. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay. Let's go to the next line, the coda. This is just an arpeggio. It's a one chord going up. It looks ugly. It's just a one chord. Here, 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 here. More or less. One note at a time. You're down here. 1 and 2. See the RH, right hand? You also look at the stems. The stems going down for the left hand, stems going up for the right hand. Not all publishers do that, so you can't really rely on it, but this publisher is doing it, so that kind of helps too. They also put the RH and LH in there to help you out too, and that's fine too. I don't know, as long as you're doing it. It's just, each hand plays a one chord, a broken chord, and then we come up, and then measure 27, the left hand plays the high C, and then last measure, 3 ledger lines above. Well, the C is 2, so you just go up another ledger line. It's an E. Makes sense, it's an E minor, so okay. Kicker is to make them all legato, all connected, and smooth, so they're even. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and. 3 and. Up here. Then we can add the articulation. Well, there isn't a lot. The only real articulation they're giving are the tenutos. So they want you to play them just a hair louder. I want you to linger on them. So when you're doing at the beginning, see each of these notes in the left hand have a tenuto. It's almost a quarter note. Not quite. Just a little longer than an eighth note. Overlap it. They want you to play a little louder. See, a lot of publishers will do that, as I've noticed this in other music, is they will put the tenuto marks over the notes or under the notes that are melody, because those are the ones you want to bring out. Well, here, it's the first note of a major, so it gets the natural accent anyway. So you feel 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And these you keep down. And you got these tenutos throughout on these left-hand notes. Over on page 147, I don't see much of any articulation going on except the slurs. Just connect them. Both hands, lift up, both hands. Lift up. It's like taking a breath. And then go on. And these eighth notes, it's the end of the second line. The DC coda, the DC means go back to the beginning, so you're going to go back to here. Well, I suggest you connect them or slur those eighth notes at the end of the line with the first note at the beginning. Connect them, so you got 5 notes together. Connect it all, because these eighth notes lead into it. Kind of go to here, so connect it. That's how I would see the way it's marked. You would, although Well, remember with slur lines like this, because it's not a phrase, it's a slur, you don't always lift up before and after slur, but you do most of the time. It's just in case you're wondering, well, it's the end of a slur, so I do that, and I'm saying no. As far as interpretation goes, when it leads into something, connect it to what it's leading into, most of the time. There's always exceptions, but most of the time. Then dynamic wise, well, sort of soft, and that's both hands. And you're staying in that area. You can, once you get comfortable with it, you can get a little louder and softer as you feel it, but you're going to stay in the moderately soft area for the most part. And then you get down to measure 11. There's a crescendo. You can go up just a little bit to moderately loud, not too much. So the measure 9 is still soft, sort of. Now we're moderately loud. And this, they give you a piano there. You don't need a piano there. You should know that's piano anyway, because the melody's in the left hand here. That's the melody as far as I can tell. Everything else should be under that. And then a decrescendo to soft. So the P there, I mean, it doesn't hurt being there. It's just, in my opinion, you don't need it. And then on top of page 147, again, they're giving you two dynamics. Well, it helps a little bit in trying to figure out where the melody is, I guess. So the top note, that's the top voice, that's melody. Then they say there's an inner voice here. There's not much of an inner voice. I'd take them all. I don't know if that's helping you or not, but the P, in my opinion, is a little redundant. It should be soft anyway. We want to hear the G. So all the time I'm playing these, I want to hear the top note. And then this is moderately loud here. And you're going to go up to loud. And they don't give you a decrescendo for soft. I don't know if the piano, this is measure 23, if that piano mark, that P, if it applies to the dotted half note, the melody, or if it applies to the quarter notes. My impression is it applies to the quarter notes. So I really wish the P were not there, because we've gone up to loud for the melody. We're not suddenly going to go soft, so we're going to play that loud. Just play these softer than that. And the first one is softer, and the second one's even softer than that, because you have a decrescendo there. And then that B is going to be more like a moderately soft or moderately loud, somewhere in the middle. And then moderately soft. And that takes you back to the moderately soft where you were. So forth. My impression of the dynamic on that. For the coda, it's just very soft. How soft? Don't use the soft pedal, that's cheating. It's just very soft. And then you have a retardando there in the next last minute. You're going to slow down, and you're going to go all the way down to very soft. And leave the hands right where they are until that 3 beats is over in the last measure, and then bring everything up. That's the dynamics. Speed-wise, it has to be accurate. It has to be even. These eighth notes have to be, so that it's not a real fast piece, but they say moving freely. Well, freely doesn't mean rough. It's still got to be even. So something about that speed, in my impression. You can go faster or slower than that depending on your accuracy. Make it accurate. How fast can you play the coda? I mean, don't rip through it, because that's out of context. This is supposed to be it's kind of like a nocturne. It's just a free-flowing, gentle piece to put people to sleep. That's all. Then they've added pedal. Well, isn't this going to be interesting? You learn it first without pedals so we can clearly hear all the notes and make the fingers do what they're supposed to do. You know, otherwise we tend to depend on the pedal to cover up our messes up in the fingering. I would prefer you fix your fingering and all, and then the pedal can enhance the sound from there. It's going to be legato pedal according to the book. They're keeping it simple for you. So you're going to push the notes down first and then the pedal. The pedal is going to lag behind the notes. So there'll be an overlapping. And I'm going to push, there's not changing the pedal till the third measure. Here, I'm going to play the D and then change the pedal. So they're changing the pedal every 2 measures. Well, for the first 2 lines, I should say, because on the third line now it's every measure, and then the 4th line is different. Well, if I do the first 2 lines the way they're showing, it's this way. If that's the sound you want, that's fine. Experiment. Try changing it on every measure. What's that do? Don't change it there. Keep that down. We don't want to lose all this noise when we play that high note. We want it to continue, so keep the pedal down. In the third line, it's every measure anyway. Don't pedal that. Yeah. You don't have to pedal the second measure either. But then pedal the third. Like so. You have to experiment with the sound, and what is the sound it's giving you? And that's how you're going to pedal it. And then on measure 17 at the top of page 147, here it's overlapping. I'd like to hear the phrases. I'm going to put a little silence in there, so I'm going to lift the pedal up with the hands. I'm going to lift the pedal up when I play the B. I want to lose this. I want that B by itself, and then I'm not pedaling that. Now they're showing pedaling it, and it'll be this way if you do it the way that's shown in the book. Here, you're supposed to be dying away. So I would recommend not pedaling that last measure. You go back to the beginning. It's kind of nice to have a little blurriness in it. It gives the atmosphere. So maybe the pedaling shown in the book is fine. You have to experiment with the different styles. Of course, for the coda, you just hold it down for the whole thing and let all that sound go. And then lift the pedal and the hands together. I suggest at the end you use a fade out type pedaling. Well, it doesn't give you a fermata, but you can hold it out a little longer. And a fade out pedaling is when you're done. Let me do it again. When you're done, lift the key up, keep your hands there, just lift the key up, and then slowly lift the pedal. And as the dampers slowly touch the strings, the sound should die away. If you get buzzing, I got a little bit there, then maybe you need to have your technician check your dampers because they may be getting a little hard, something a little off. It should not buzz. Your dampers should not buzz just because you gradually touch the strings with the felt. Now with an electronic piano, it depends on the piano and the pedal. Some pedals do it, some don't. Some of the cheaper electronic pianos won't do it. When you start to lift it, the sound just stops. So you have to experiment with your piano on the fading out. But on an acoustic, you should be able to do it fine. Just let it die away. Otherwise, you're going to get this, and all of a sudden, nothing. I thought, wait a minute. So just let it fade out. There are different pedaling techniques, and we talk about them. this? Well, you get over to page 147, end of the second line. There's a DC coda. DC means go back to the beginning. So you're going to go back over there, and coda means then go to coda. And the coda sign is at the bottom of page 146. So after you finish page 146 again, then you immediately jump across to the coda at measure 25 and play it there. I like to play this with you very slowly to check the notes and the rhythms. Now I'm going to do the dynamics. I'm not going to do the pedaling because you can hear the notes better without the pedaling. Pedaling is pretty straightforward. So I'll give us 3 counts. Let's just try it slowly together. 1 and ready and go and. 1 and 2 and 3 and. 2 and 3 and. 2 and 3 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and. And 2 and 3 and. And 2 and 3 and 1 and. And. To the beginning. One and 2 and 3 and. 2 and 3 and. 1, 2. 1 and 2 to the coda. 2 and 3 and off.